The glass is halfway to his lips when she screams, "Wait!"
Wait!
Every head turns. Security moves. The bride-to-be goes pale. Hyun-woo, the powerful Korean mafia billionaire, is standing there in his designer suit at his own engagement party, champagne glass frozen midair, staring at a catering woman he's never seen before. She's shaking, terrified, but she won't back down. Please don't drink that.
Please don't drink that.
The room goes silent. His fiancée is smiling, but her eyes are ice. His cousin looks panicked. Something's wrong. Something's about to explode. And this stranger, this woman nobody notices, nobody knows, just threw herself between him and disaster. Does he trust her? Or does he drink and find out what happens next? Here's a question. If you saw someone about to do something dangerous, a complete stranger, would you risk everything to warn them? Even knowing you'd look insane? What would you do? Let me know in the comments and subscribe, because Nalani's about to make a choice that'll either save a life or destroy her own. Sir, wait. Hyun-woo's hand froze halfway to his lips, the wine glass catching the chandelier light. He turned, annoyed, to find one of the catering staff standing beside him, a woman he'd never seen before at any of his family's events. She was different from the usual staff. Her skin was deep brown, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, and her dark eyes held something he couldn't quite read. Fear, maybe, but also determination. "What is it?" he asked, his voice sharper than intended. The reception hall buzzed with conversation around them. Hundreds of Seoul's elite gathered to celebrate his upcoming marriage to Min-hee. The woman's hand trembled slightly as she reached for the glass. "Please, I need you to trust me. Don't drink that." Hyun-woo frowned, glancing at his fiancée across the room. Min-hee was laughing with her bridesmaids, her white engagement dress shimmering under the lights. Everything about this evening had been perfect. Why? Would this stranger? Are you out of your mind? His cousin Tae-yang appeared at his elbow, scowling at the woman. Security needs to remove you immediately. No. Wait. Hyun-woo held up a hand, studying the woman's face more carefully. Something in her expression stopped him. He'd built his family's empire by reading people, by trusting his instincts about danger. And right now, every instinct screamed that this woman wasn't lying. He set the glass down on a nearby table. The woman's shoulders sagged with visible relief. "Thank you. I know this seems crazy, but..." "Hyun-woo, what's going on?" Min-hee's voice cut through the moment as she glided over, her smile tight. "Why is the help bothering you?" "She just stopped me from drinking the toast," Hyun-woo said slowly, watching both women. "Said I shouldn't trust it." Min-hee's face went pale, then flushed. "That's ridiculous. She's probably just confused about her duties. Let me handle this." But the catering woman stepped back, her eyes locked on Min-hee now. "I heard you and Mr. Chen talking in the kitchen 20 minutes ago, about the powder in the champagne, about how once he drank it, the wedding would go forward, no matter what evidence surfaced later." The entire room seemed to tilt. Hyun-woo stared at his fiancée, waiting for her to laugh, to deny it, to do anything but stand there with guilt written across her perfect features. "Min-hee?" "She's lying," Min-hee hissed, but her voice wavered. "She's probably just some jealous." "James Chen?" Hyun-woo's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "Your ex-boyfriend James Chen? The one you swore you hadn't spoken to in 2 years?" The woman beside them spoke quietly. "They've been meeting for 6 months. I've been working events at the hotel where they've been staying together." Everything crystallized in that moment. The late-night phone calls Min-hee always took in private, her insistence on planning the wedding so quickly. The way She'd pushed for Hyun-woo to sign the new business merger papers before the ceremony, instead of after. His family's company. She'd been after his family's company all along. Tae-yang, Hyun-woo said, his voice eerily calm. Call security. Have them test that champagne and find James Chen. I'm guessing he's somewhere in this building. Min-hee's mask finally cracked. You're going to believe some random black girl over me? Your fiancé. We've been together for 3 years. Hyun-woo. Get out. The words came out like ice. Get out before I have you arrested for attempted poisoning. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur. Security confirmed the presence of a strong sedative in the champagne. Not enough to kill, but enough to leave him disoriented and compliant. They found James Chen hiding in a service corridor, along with a briefcase full of forged documents that would have transferred majority ownership of Hyun-woo's shipping company to Min-hee the moment they signed their marriage certificate. Through it all, the mysterious woman who'd saved him stood quietly to the side, refusing to leave despite the chaos. When the police finally escorted Min-hee out in handcuffs, Hyun-woo turned to find her still there, watching him with those same careful eyes. Thank you, he said, and meant it with every fiber of his being. You just saved my life, or at least my company. I don't even know your name. She smiled for the first time, and something in his chest did an unexpected flip. Nalani, I'm from Madagascar. Been working in Denver for about 8 months now. Madagascar, he repeated, trying to place it. I've never been. Most people haven't, she said with a shrug. It's an island off the east coast of Africa. Very different from here. How did you end up working this event? Nalani hesitated, glancing around at the remaining guests who were being ushered out by security. Can we maybe talk somewhere else? This feels like a conversation you don't want everyone hearing. He studied her for a long moment. Every rule he'd been raised with said not to trust strangers, especially after what had just happened. But something about Nalani felt different, honest, real. There's a private lounge on the 2nd floor, he said finally. Follow me. The lounge was empty when they arrived, decorated in dark woods and leather furniture that his mother had chosen. Hyun-woo poured himself a scotch from the bar. From a sealed bottle he opened himself and offered one to Nalani. She declined. I don't drink, she explained, settling into one of the armchairs. Bad experiences in my family. My father. She trailed off, and Hyun-woo didn't push. He understood complicated families better than most. So tell me, he said, taking a seat across from her. Why risk your job to warn me? You could have just walked away. Nalani was quiet for a moment, her fingers tracing patterns on the chair's arm. Because I've been where you were. Maybe not exactly, but close enough. Someone I trusted completely turned out to be using me for what I could give them. And when I finally figured it out, I lost everything. What happened? I was engaged too, actually. Her laugh was bitter. Back in Madagascar. His name was Andri, and I thought he loved me. Turned out he was only interested in my family's vanilla business. When I found out and called off the wedding, he destroyed our reputation with the buyers. My father lost everything. That's why I'm here in Denver, trying to build enough money to help rebuild what Andri destroyed. Hyun-woo set down his glass, seeing her in a new light. You understand betrayal. I understand what it feels like when someone you love sees you as a transaction instead of a person, she corrected. And when I overheard Min-hee and James talking tonight, I couldn't just let it happen to someone else. Even though warning me could have gotten you fired, or worse. Even though. She met his eyes, steadily. Some things are more important than a job. They sat in silence for a while, the sounds of the disbanding reception filtering up from below. Hyun-woo's mind was still reeling from everything that had happened. An hour ago, he'd been about to toast his upcoming marriage. Now he was sitting across from a stranger who'd just blown his entire life apart and somehow saved it at the same time. "I need to pay you back," he said finally. "Whatever you need. Money for your family's business, help with immigration papers, anything." Nalani shook her head quickly. "I didn't do it for payment. I know. But I don't like being in debt, and you quite literally saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life." He leaned forward, surprised by how much he meant it. "Please, let me help you the way you helped me." She considered this, biting her lower lip. "The catering company is going to fire me for causing a scene tonight. I know they will. So, maybe, if you know anyone who needs help, I could use a job reference. Work for me." The words were out before Hyun-woo fully thought them through, but once he said them, he realized how right they felt. Nalani blinked. "What?" "Work for me," he repeated, more certain now. "Not as staff. As, I don't know exactly, an assistant, an advisor, someone who can help me figure out who in my organization I can actually trust, because clearly my judgment has been severely compromised." "You want to hire me based on one conversation?" "You risked everything to help me, based on one overheard conversation," he countered. "I think that says more about your character than any interview or reference check ever could, unless you're secretly working for one of my competitors." "I barely know who you are beyond what I heard tonight," Nalani admitted. "I knew you were important because of the wedding size. But, good. Then you're not after my money or my connections." Hyun-woo smiled grimly. "That already puts you ahead of 90% of the people in my life." Nalani stood up, pacing to the window that overlooked downtown Denver's skyline. The city lights spread out below them, like scattered diamonds. "This is crazy. You don't even know me. I know you have more integrity than the woman I almost married." He joined her at the window, careful to keep a respectful distance. "And right now, that's enough. Think about it at least. You said you need money to help your family. I can pay you well, very well. All I ask in return is honesty." She turned to face him, and in the reflection of the glass, Hyun-woo saw uncertainty war with hope in her expression. "What exactly would I be doing?" "Helping me rebuild," he said honestly. "Min-hee wasn't working alone. She had to have help inside my company to get access to those documents, to plan this whole thing. I need someone with fresh eyes to help me figure out who else I can't trust. Someone who has nothing to gain from my family's politics or power, plays. And you think that someone is me? A girl from Madagascar who was working as a caterer 3 hours ago? I think that someone could be you, yes." He met her eyes in the reflection. "If you're willing to take the risk." Nalani was quiet for so long that Hyun-woo thought he'd pushed too hard, too fast. Then she let out a long breath and turned to face him directly. "Okay," she said simply. "I'll try it. But if this turns out to be another complicated situation, where I'm being used, then you walk away with 6 months' salary as severance, no questions asked," Hyun-woo promised. "I'll put it in writing. You have my word." "The word of a man whose fiancée just tried to drug him," Nalani pointed out. But there was a hint of amusement in her voice now. "Fair point." He found himself almost smiling, despite everything. "How about this? Come to my office tomorrow morning. Meet my assistant Grace. See the company. Ask whatever questions you need to ask. Then decide if you trust me enough to accept the job." "Grace?" "My executive assistant. She's been with my family for 15 years, and is probably the only person I'm completely certain isn't corrupt. He pulled out his phone and typed quickly. I'm sending you the address. Come by around 10. That gives you time to sleep on this insane decision we're both considering. Nalani took out her own phone, an older model with a cracked screen, and waited for the text. When it came through, she studied it for a moment before nodding. 10 o'clock. I'll be there. Thank you, Nalani, for everything. She smiled again, that same genuine expression that had caught him off guard before. Thank me after you figure out whether hiring me is brilliant or the second worst decision you've almost made this week. He walked her down to the lobby, where the last of the guests and police were finishing up. Taeyang caught his eye from across the room, his expression carefully neutral. That was another conversation Hyun-woo would need to have soon. His cousin had been entirely too friendly with Min-hee lately. But for now, he watched Nalani disappear into the Denver night and wondered what exactly he'd just set in motion. Whatever it was, it had to be better than the alternative. The next morning arrived with a pounding headache and 17 missed calls from his mother. Hyun-woo ignored them all as he dressed for work, choosing a simple black suit instead of his usual designer labels. Everything felt different now, tainted by Min-hee's betrayal. Grace was waiting in his office when he arrived, her silver hair perfectly styled as always, her expression sympathetic. I heard about last night. I'm so sorry, Hyun-woo. Did you know? He asked bluntly, setting his briefcase down. About Min-hee and James? Grace's face tightened. I suspected something was wrong about 3 months ago. The way she kept pushing to access certain files, asking questions about the company structure. But I never thought that she'd try to drug me at our own engagement party. That she'd go that far, yes. Grace folded her hands on her desk. I should have said something sooner. I'm sorry. Hyun-woo sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. It's not your fault. I should have seen it myself. 3 years, Grace. How did I miss it for 3 years? Because you loved her, or thought you did. Grace's voice was gentle. Love makes us blind to things we'd normally see clearly. Apparently. He checked his watch. 9:45. I'm expecting someone at 10. Her name is Nalani, and I'm considering hiring her. Grace raised an eyebrow. The woman from last night? The one who stopped you from drinking? News travels fast. Your mother called me at 6 this morning demanding to know everything. Grace allowed herself a small smile. I told her you'd explain when you were ready. She was not pleased. She rarely is. Hyun-woo pulled up his computer, scanning through emails he'd been ignoring since yesterday. What's the damage so far? How many business partners have called to cancel meetings? None, actually. If anything, you're getting sympathy calls. Apparently, being the victim of a dramatic poisoning attempt at your engagement party makes you more interesting to Denver's business community. Grace handed him a stack of message slips. These are all requests for interviews or statements. I've been declining them. Good. Keep declining. He tossed the slips aside. What about Min-hee's family? Have they reached out? Her father called twice. Wants to meet with you privately to discuss the misunderstanding. Grace's tone made it clear what she thought of that description. No meetings. Not with any of them. Hyun-woo's jaw tightened. Min-hee's family knew exactly what she was doing. They had to. The forgery alone would have required legal help, and her father's firm. You think he was in on it? I know he was. Those documents were too perfect, too professionally done. He shook his head bitterly. They played me from the beginning, the whole family. A soft knock interrupted them. Grace checked her watch. That's probably your 10 o'clock. Hyun-woo stood, straightening his tie out of habit. Send her in. The door opened, and Nalani stepped through, looking completely different from last night. She wore a simple blue dress that somehow made her skin glow, her hair loose around her shoulders instead of pulled back. She carried a worn leather portfolio and walked with careful confidence. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady despite the nervousness Hyun-woo could see in her eyes. "Morning." He gestured to the chairs across from his desk. "Please sit. This is Grace, my executive assistant. Grace, this is Nalani." The two women studied each other for a moment. Then Grace smiled warmly. "Thank you for what you did last night. Hyun-woo told me everything." "I just did what felt right," Nalani said, taking a seat, "though I've been wondering all night if maybe I dreamed the whole thing." "If you did, we're having the same dream," Hyun-woo said dryly. "Did you think about my offer?" "I did." Nalani opened her portfolio, revealing several printed pages. "I stayed up researching your company. You run shipping operations between the US and South Korea, mainly luxury goods and electronics. You took over from your father 5 years ago and have doubled the business since then. You're known for being fair, but tough in negotiations." Grace looked impressed. "You did your homework." "I don't make important decisions without information," Nalani said simply. "And this feels like a very important decision." "It is," Hyun-woo agreed. "For both of us. Did you find anything that concerned you?" "A few things." Nalani flipped through her notes. "You've had 3 major partnerships dissolve in the past year. Could be normal business, or could mean someone's undermining you from inside. Your engagement to Min-hee was announced right after. The second partnership fell through, which seems convenient." Hyun-woo exchanged a look with Grace. "Go on." "And your cousin Tai-yang has been promoted twice in 6 months, which is unusual. Either he's exceptionally talented, or someone wanted him in a position of power quickly." Nalani met Hyun-woo's eyes. "I'm guessing you're now wondering which one it is." "I've been wondering that since last night," he admitted. "Tai-yang and Min-hee were always friendly, but I thought it was just normal family dynamics. Now everything feels suspicious," Nalani finished. "I understand that feeling. After Andri's betrayal, I questioned everyone and everything for months." "How did you get past it?" She was quiet for a moment, her fingers playing with the edge of her portfolio. "Honestly, I'm not sure I have completely, but I learned to trust my instincts again, to pay attention to actions instead of words, and to give people chances to prove themselves, like you're doing with me right now." "Speaking of which," Hyun-woo pulled out a folder Grace had prepared. "This is the contract I'm offering. 6-month trial period as my special advisor, with the salary we discussed. Your job is to help me identify who in my organization I can trust and who I can't. You'll have access to most files and meetings, and I need you to tell me honestly what you see. Even if what I see implicates people you care about, especially if it does." His voice was firm. "I can't afford any more blind spots." Nalani took the contract, reading through it carefully. Her eyebrows rose at the salary figure. This is more than generous." "It's what the job is worth," Grace interjected. "And honestly, after last night, Hyun-woo probably owes you 10 times that amount." "I just need to know one thing," Nalani said, looking up from the papers. "Why me? Really? Because I stopped you from drinking poisoned champagne? That feels like gratitude, not a hiring decision." Hyun-woo considered how to answer. "Last night, you risked your livelihood to help a complete stranger. You didn't know who I was, didn't know if I'd believe you, didn't know if Min-hee might have you arrested for interfering. You did it anyway, because it was right. That kind of integrity is rare, and right now, That's exactly what I need in my life. Also, Grace added, you figured out in one night of research what took our security team 3 months to even begin suspecting. You're smart, observant, and you don't have any connection to the politics of this company. That makes you valuable. Nalani's hand trembled slightly as she picked up the pen. You're both either very brave or very foolish. Probably a bit of both, Hyunwoo said with a slight smile. But I've found that the best decisions usually are. She signed her name at the bottom of the contract. Grace stood immediately, gathering the papers. Excellent. I'll process these and get you set up with building access and a laptop. Do you have business clothes, or do you need an advance for— I have clothes, Nalani said quickly, a flush creeping up her neck. They're not fancy, but they're professional enough. Perfect. Then let's get you started. Grace's efficiency was already kicking in. Hyunwoo, you have a meeting with the sole investors in 30 minutes. Nalani, why don't you sit in? Get a feel for how things work around here. And just like that, Nalani's new life began. The meeting with the sole investors was tense. 3 older Korean men in expensive suits sat across the conference table, their expressions carefully neutral as they discussed quarterly projections. Nalani sat quietly in the corner, taking notes and observing. Hyunwoo noticed how the investors kept glancing at her, clearly wondering who this new person was. He didn't explain, and they didn't ask directly, but he could see the questions in their eyes. The engagement party incident, Mr. Park finally said, his Korean accented but clear. Very unfortunate. Your family must be disappointed. My family is relieved I discovered the truth before the wedding, Hyunwoo replied coolly. As am I. Still, such scandal. It reflects poorly on business relationships. Mr. Park's implication was clear. Our shareholders are concerned about stability. My personal life doesn't affect my business capabilities, doesn't it? Mr. Kim leaned forward. You were engaged for 3 years to a woman who was stealing from you. That shows poor judgment, Hyunwoo. Poor judgment affects everything. The words stung because they were partly true. Hyunwoo felt his temper rising, felt the familiar urge to defend himself. Actually, Nalani's voice cut through the tension. I think it shows excellent judgment. Everyone turned to stare at her. She stood up, moving to the table with surprising confidence. I'm sorry, and you are? Mr. Park's tone was dismissive. Nalani Rakoto, Mr. Kim's new advisor. She placed her hands on the table, meeting each investor's eyes in turn. And while I'm new here, I understand business. What happened at the engagement party wasn't poor judgment. It was proof that Hyunwoo values truth over appearance. He could have gone through with the wedding to save face, to keep up the image of stability you're so concerned about. Instead, he chose honesty the moment he suspected something was wrong. That's the kind of leader you want managing your investments, not someone who'd sacrifice integrity for appearances. The room went completely silent. Mr. Kim's expression shifted from dismissive to intrigued. An interesting perspective. It's the correct perspective, Nalani continued. In Madagascar, we have a saying, better to find the snake before it bites than to die from pride. Hyunwoo found his snake. Now he's making sure there are no others hiding in the grass. That should make you more confident in his leadership, not less. Hyunwoo watched the investors' faces change as they processed this. He'd been so focused on defending his judgment that he hadn't thought to reframe the entire situation. But Nalani had done it naturally, turning his weakness into strength. Mr. Park nodded slowly. Your advisor makes a compelling argument. She does. Hyunwoo agreed, allowing himself a small smile. Which is why I hired her. The rest of the meeting went smoothly after that. The investors left with renewed confidence, and Grace gave Nalani an approving nod as she ushered them out. Once they were alone, Hyunwoo turned to Nalani. "Thank you. That was probably overstepping," she finished, looking suddenly uncertain. "I'm sorry, I should have asked before jumping in like that. It's just that they were being unfair, and I don't apologize. You did exactly what I needed you to do." He meant it. You saw the situation clearly and spoke up. That's your job. Even when it means contradicting powerful people, especially then. Hyunwoo gathered his notes from the table. "Most people tell me what they think I want to hear. You told them what they needed to hear. There's a difference." Nalani relaxed slightly. "I've never been good at keeping quiet when something feels wrong. It gets me in trouble sometimes." "Well, here, it's going to get you promoted." He checked his watch. "It's almost lunchtime. Are you hungry?" "Starving, actually. I was too nervous to eat breakfast. There's a Korean barbecue place 2 blocks from here. Have you ever had Korean food?" She shook her head. "Never. We don't have many Korean restaurants in Madagascar." "Then you're in for an experience." Hyunwoo felt an unexpected excitement at the prospect of introducing her to something new. "Fair warning, though. I'm going to order way too much food, and Grace will scold us both when we get back." Nalani laughed, and the sound did something strange to his chest. "I think I can handle that risk." As they walked out of the office together, Hyunwoo caught Grace's knowing smile. He ignored it, but his assistant's voice followed them down the hall. "Don't forget your 3 o'clock, Hyunwoo. And Nalani, welcome to the team." The restaurant was busy with the lunch crowd, but the owner, an elderly Korean woman named Mrs. Song, recognized Hyunwoo immediately and led them to a private booth in the back. The smell of grilling meat and spices filled the air. "She seems to know you well," Nalani observed, sliding into the booth. "I eat here probably 3 times a week," Hyunwoo admitted. "Mrs. Song knew my father before me. She's been feeding our family for 30 years. Mrs. Song returned with banchan, small dishes of kimchi, pickled vegetables, and other sides, chattering in rapid Korean. She paused, noticing Nalani, and her eyes widened with interest. "Who is this?" she asked in Korean, her tone delighted. "A friend," Hyunwoo replied in the same language. "Her name is Nalani. She's never had Korean food before." Mrs. Song's face lit up, like someone had just told her it was her birthday. She immediately launched into a detailed explanation, in Korean, of every dish she was about to bring them, and Nalani watched with amused confusion. "She's very enthusiastic," Nalani said when Mrs. Song finally bustled away. "She lives for introducing people to Korean cuisine. You've made her day." Hyunwoo started serving the banchan onto smaller plates. "Okay, crash course. This is kimchi, fermented cabbage with spices. Start with a small amount because it's spicy. This is seasoned spinach. These are pickled radishes." Nalani tried each one, her expressions ranging from surprise to delight to slight shock at the kimchi's heat. "That's intense." "It grows on you," he promised. "The meat will help balance it out." Mrs. Song returned with platters of marinated beef and pork, setting up the grill in the center of their table. She demonstrated how to cook the meat, still talking in Korean, and Hyunwoo translated the important parts. "Why doesn't she just speak English?" Nalani asked curiously. "She speaks it perfectly," Hyunwoo said with a grin, "but she likes testing new people to see if they'll be patient with her. It's her way of judging character." "Am I passing the test? Considering she just gave us extra banchan, she doesn't give anyone else?" "Yes, definitely." They ate in comfortable silence for a while, Nalani trying different combinations and asking questions about each dish. Hyun-woo found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't in months, maybe years. There was something easy about being with someone who didn't know his whole history, who wasn't judging every word or action through the lens of family politics or business dealings. "Can I ask you something?" Nalani said, putting down her chopsticks. "Last night, when you realized what Min-hee had done, you seemed angry, but not surprised, like part of you had expected it." Hyun-woo was quiet for a moment, considering how honest to be. "I think I'd been feeling something was wrong for a while. I just didn't want to admit it to myself." "Why not?" "Because then I'd have to face the fact that I'd wasted 3 years on someone who never really loved me." He poked at his rice. "It's embarrassing, you know, to realize you've been fooled that completely." "It's not embarrassing," Nalani said firmly. "It's human. We trust people we care about. We want to believe the best in them. That's not a weakness." Min-hee saw it as one. "Then Min-hee is an idiot." Nalani's bluntness made him look up in surprise. "Sorry, but it's true. She had someone who cared about her, who was building a life with her, and she threw it away for money and power. That's not winning. That's just sad." "You don't think I'm stupid for not seeing it sooner?" "I think you're human for hoping you were wrong about your suspicions." She met his eyes. "After Andrew betrayed me, I spent months beating myself up for all the signs I'd missed. My sister finally told me, 'Nalani, you weren't stupid. You were in love. There's a difference.' I'm passing that wisdom to you now." Hyun-woo felt something loosen in his chest. "Your sister sounds smart." "She is. She's still back in Madagascar, running what's left of the vanilla business." Nalani's voice softened. "I miss her constantly, but being here, it's giving me a chance to earn enough to help rebuild what we lost. That's what matters." "Tell me about your family," Hyun-woo said, genuinely curious. "You've mentioned your father and sister, but there's not much to tell, really. My mother died when I was 12, malaria. After that, it was just my father, my sister Ravaona, and me. We had a small vanilla plantation that had been in our family for generations. Nothing huge, but enough to live comfortably." She smiled sadly. "Ravaona and I used to play in the vanilla orchards, pretending we were explorers discovering new lands. Sounds nice." It was, until Andrew destroyed it all. The bitterness crept back into her voice. "He told the buyers our vanilla was contaminated, started rumors about our growing practices. By the time we proved he was lying, we'd lost all our contracts. My father had a stroke from the stress. He's alive, but diminished. Can't really run the business anymore. I'm sorry. Don't be. We're fighters." Nalani's chin lifted. "Ravaona is rebuilding the buyer relationships one at a time, and now I'm here, sending money home every month to help with the medical bills and business costs. We'll come back from this." Hyun-woo studied her face, seeing the determination there. "You really believe that?" "I have to. The alternative is giving up, and that's not who we are." She picked up her chopsticks again. "Besides, if my father taught me anything, it's that vanilla orchids are resilient. They look delicate, but they survive droughts, storms, everything. Our family is the same way." "I admire that," Hyun-woo said honestly. "My family, we're more about appearances than resilience, looking strong even when we're falling apart. Is that why you haven't told your mother about hiring me yet?" He laughed, surprised. "How did you know?" "Grace's face when she mentioned your mother calling. She looked stressed." Nalani grinned. "I'm guessing your mom has opinions about your life choices." "My mother has opinions about everyone's life choices," Hyunwoo said dryly. And yes, she's going to have many thoughts about me hiring someone I just met to help run my company, especially after the Min-hee situation. Want me to meet her, get it over with? Absolutely not. I'm protecting you from that particular storm for as long as possible. He was only half joking. My mother is intense. I've dealt with intense. I can handle it. Famous last words, Hyunwoo muttered, but he was smiling. They finished lunch with Mrs. Song pressing extra containers of kimchi on them and making Nalani promise to come back soon. Walking back to the office, Hyunwoo felt lighter than he had in days. Thank you, he said as they waited for the crosswalk signal. For what? For being honest. For treating me like a person instead of a boss or a business opportunity. He glanced at her. It's been a long time since I had a real conversation with someone. Nalani's expression softened. Well, if this advisor job doesn't work out, I guess I have a backup career as a lunch companion. The advisor job is going to work out, Hyunwoo said, with more confidence than he'd felt about anything in weeks. I can feel it. As they entered the building lobby, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're going to regret crossing us, Hyunwoo. This isn't over. His good mood evaporated instantly. Nalani must have seen his expression change because she stopped walking. What's wrong? He showed her the phone. She read the message, her jaw tightening. Min-hee? Or James Chen? Or any number of people who were involved in their scheme? Hyunwoo deleted the text. They're angry I exposed them. This is probably just the beginning. Are you worried? Should I be? Nalani thought about it, then shook her head. No, because whatever they try next, they're going to expect you to be alone and vulnerable. But you're not. You have Grace, and now you have me. We're going to figure out exactly how deep this goes, and we're going to make sure they can't hurt you again. The certainty in her voice steadied something in him. You sound very sure of that. I am. She pressed the elevator button. I didn't survive Andri's betrayal just to watch someone else go through the same thing. We're going to fix this, Hyunwoo, together. As they rode the elevator back to his floor, Hyunwoo realized something. For the first time since last night's disaster, he actually believed things might be okay, and it was all because of the stranger he'd decided to trust. The rest of Nalani's first week passed in a blur of meetings, file reviews, and increasingly suspicious patterns. She'd set up a workspace in the corner of Hyunwoo's office, and by Friday afternoon, she'd covered an entire whiteboard with names, dates, and connecting lines. This looks like a detective show, Grace commented, bringing in afternoon coffee. That's basically what we're doing, Nalani said, stepping back to study her work, detecting who's been working against Hyunwoo and for how long. Hyunwoo looked up from his laptop. And? What have you found? Nothing good. Nalani tapped the board where Min-hee's name sat at the center of a web. She didn't work alone. At minimum, she had help from 3 people in this company. 3? Hyunwoo stood, moving closer. Who? Your cousin Tae-yang, obviously. He authorized several unusual file transfers to Min-hee's personal email over the past 6 months. Nalani pointed to the evidence. Then there's Sarah Mitchell in accounting. She helped hide payments to a shell company that traces back to James Chen. And finally, David Wong in legal, who helped draft those forged ownership documents. Grace set down the coffee tray with a sharp click. David Wong has been with this company for 8 years. Which is probably why Min-hee recruited him, Nalani said. He had access to everything she needed. The question is, was he helping willingly, or was she blackmailing him? Does it matter? Hyunwoo's voice was cold. It might. Nalani pulled up a file on her laptop. Because if she was blackmailing people, that means there might be others who wanted to help you but couldn't. People who were trapped. Hyunwoo studied the board for a long moment. Set up meetings with all three of them. Separately. I want to hear what they have to say. Are you sure? Grace looked worried. If they're working together, they'll warn each other the moment you start asking questions. Then we do it simultaneously. Hyunwoo's mind was already working through the logistics. 3 different conference rooms, 3 different times. Monday morning. They won't have time to coordinate stories. I'll arrange it, Grace said, making notes. Nalani watched Hyunwoo, seeing the businessman emerge. This was different from the guy who'd sat across from her at lunch, sharing stories and smiling over kimchi. This version was harder, more focused. Dangerous, maybe. You should go home, he said suddenly, catching her staring. It's almost 6. You've been here since 8 this morning. So have you. Yes, but I don't have anywhere else to be. His smile was rueful. Cancelled wedding, remember? My social calendar cleared up dramatically. Actually, Grace interjected, you have that charity gala tomorrow night. The one your mother organized for the Korean American Cultural Center. Hyunwoo groaned. I forgot about that. Well, you can't skip it. Your mother will never forgive you, and half of Denver's business community will be there. Grace was already scrolling through her phone. Plus, it's a good opportunity to show everyone you're fine after the engagement disaster. I'll go, Hyunwoo said reluctantly, but I'm leaving after an hour. 2 hours minimum, Grace countered. And you need a date. What? You need a date, Grace repeated patiently. If you show up alone, everyone will pity you. If you bring someone, it shows you've moved on. It's all about perception, Hyunwoo. That's ridiculous. I'm not bringing a random date just for appearances. Then bring Nalani. Both Hyunwoo and Nalani turned to stare at Grace, who looked completely unruffled. Absolutely not, Hyunwoo said immediately. I'm not dragging her into my family drama already. I'm standing right here, Nalani pointed out. And why not? If it helps with the business perception thing Grace mentioned, I don't mind. You've been working for me for 5 days. I'm not making you attend a stuffy charity gala with my mother. Your mother who you've been avoiding telling about me? Nalani crossed her arms. Maybe it's better if I meet her in a public setting where she has to be polite. Get it over with. You don't know what you're suggesting. Then enlighten me. Nalani met his eyes. Unless you're embarrassed to be seen with your advisor in public? That's not... Hyunwoo ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you when my mother starts interrogating you about your intentions. My intentions are to help you keep your company, Nalani said simply. I think even your mother can understand that. Grace smiled. Excellent. The gala starts at 7. I'll send you both the details. As Grace left, Nalani turned to Hyunwoo. You really don't have to take me if you don't want to. It's not about wanting to, he said carefully. It's about, my mother can be a lot. And after Min-hee, she's going to be suspicious of any woman in my life. Even one who saved you from being drugged. Especially one who saved me from being drugged. He sighed. My mother thinks in political terms. She'll see you as either a threat or an opportunity, and I don't want you to have to deal with that. Nalani considered this. What if I want to deal with it? What if I think understanding your mother will help me understand the dynamics around here better? You're using my family gala as research? Why not? She grinned. Besides, I've never been to a fancy Denver charity event. Could be fun. Hyunwoo found himself smiling despite his reservations. Okay, but the moment it stops being fun, we leave. Deal. Deal. The next evening, Nalani stood in front of her apartment mirror, second-guessing every decision she'd made in the past week. The dress she'd bought for the gala, a deep emerald green that Grace had helped her pick out, fit perfectly, but it was the most expensive piece of clothing she'd ever owned. The price tag had made her physically ill until Grace reminded her that Hyunwoo had given her a clothing allowance specifically for situations like this. "Still feels wrong," she muttered, adjusting the neckline for the 10th time. Her phone buzzed. "Hyunwoo, I'm downstairs whenever you're ready. No rush." Nalani took a deep breath, grabbed her clutch, and headed down to where a sleek black car waited at the curb. Hyunwoo got out when he saw her, and his expression did something that made her heart skip. He was wearing a perfectly tailored black suit with a silver tie, his hair styled away from his face. He looked expensive and handsome, really handsome. "You look beautiful," he said, and sounded like he meant it. "You clean up pretty well yourself," Nalani managed, climbing into the car. "This is intimidating." "The car?" "All of it." She gestured at herself. "A week ago, I was serving drinks at other people's parties. Now I'm attending one as a guest. It's weird. If it helps, I'd rather be anywhere else." Hyunwoo settled into the seat beside her as the driver pulled away from the curb. "These events are exhausting. Everyone wants something. Everyone's watching everyone else. And my mother will spend the whole night introducing me to suitable young women, despite everything that just happened. Even with me there as your date. Especially with you there as my date." He smiled grimly. "She'll see it as a phase, something I'm doing to cope with the broken engagement. Should I be offended by that? Probably not. My mother sees most things as phases." Hyunwoo looked out the window at the Denver skyline sliding past. She didn't approve of Minhee either, actually. Said her family wasn't traditional enough, that Minhee was too westernized. But you got engaged anyway. "I'm stubborn." He glanced at her. "Fair warning. My mother is going to ask you a lot of personal questions. You don't have to answer anything you're not comfortable with." "I'll be fine," Nalani assured him, though her stomach was churning. How bad can one evening be? The gala was being held at the Pinnacle Gallery, a stunning space on the 16th floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed off the city lights, and the room was already packed with Denver's elite by the time they arrived. Hyunwoo's hand settled on the small of Nalani's back as they entered, a gesture that looked natural but felt electric. "Stay close," he murmured. "And remember, we can leave whenever you want." They'd barely made it 3 steps inside before a woman's voice cut through the crowd. "Hyunwoo, there you are." Nalani turned to see an elegant Korean woman in her 60s approaching them, her expression perfectly composed, but her eyes sharp as knives. This had to be Hyunwoo's mother. "Hello, Mother," Hyunwoo said, his tone carefully neutral. "You remember I told you I'd be bringing someone?" Mrs. Kim's gaze fixed on Nalani, taking in every detail in a single sweep. "I remember. You failed to mention who." "This is Nalani Rakoto. She's my new advisor." Hyunwoo's hand was still on Nalani's back, steadying. "Nalani, this is my mother, Mrs. Kim. It's an honor to meet you," Nalani said, offering a small bow the way Grace had coached her. "Your son has told me wonderful things about you." "Has he?" Mrs. Kim's tone suggested she doubted that very much. "How interesting. And where are you from, Miss Rakoto?" "Madagascar, originally. I've been in Denver for about 8 months now." "Madagascar." Mrs. Kim's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "And what brings you to work for my son?" "Mother," Hyunwoo warned, "I'm simply making conversation, dear." Mrs. Kim's smile was ice cold. Surely Miss Rakoto can answer a simple question about her employment. Nalani felt Hyunwoo tense beside her, ready to intervene, but she spoke first. I was working as catering staff at your son's engagement party. I overheard Min Hee and James Chen discussing their plan to drug Hyunwoo, and I stopped him from drinking the poisoned champagne. He offered me a job the next day. The silence that followed was absolute. Mrs. Kim's perfect composure finally cracked, shock registering on her face. You're the one who exposed Min Hee? Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kim seemed genuinely at a loss for words. I see. That's unexpected. Mother's been trying to find out who warned me for days, Hyunwoo explained, a hint of amusement in his voice. I wouldn't tell her. Because I knew she'd try to interrogate you, Mrs. Kim said, but her tone toward Nalani had shifted slightly. Miss Rakoto, I owe you a debt of gratitude. If you hadn't intervened, I just did what was right, Nalani said simply. Anyone would have. No, Mrs. Kim corrected. They wouldn't have. Most people would have looked the other way, afraid of getting involved. You risked your job to help a stranger. She studied Nalani with new interest. That shows character. Thank you. However, Mrs. Kim continued, her sharp edge returning. That doesn't explain why my son thinks it's appropriate to bring you to a formal event so soon after his engagement ended. People will talk. Let them talk, Hyunwoo said flatly. I'm tired of living my life based on what people might say. You have a responsibility to this family's reputation, and I'm fulfilling it by rebuilding the company Min Hee tried to destroy. His voice was firm. Nalani is helping me do that. Her presence here is professional. It doesn't look professional, Mrs. Kim countered. It looks like you're rebounding. Then maybe people need to update their assumptions, Nalani interjected, surprising herself. Both Kims turned to look at her. With respect, Mrs. Kim, your son just had his life turned upside down. He's handling it by focusing on his business and surrounding himself with people he can trust. That's smart, not scandalous. Mrs. Kim's eyebrows rose. You're very direct. I grew up in a culture where honesty is valued more than politeness, Nalani said. If that offends you, I apologize. I didn't say I was offended. Mrs. Kim's expression shifted into something that might have been respect. In fact, I find it refreshing. Most young women are so busy trying to impress me that they forget to be themselves. I'm not trying to impress anyone, Nalani said honestly. I'm just trying to help Hyunwoo rebuild what was taken from him. Mrs. Kim was quiet for a long moment, then nodded once. We'll speak more later, Miss Rakoto. Hyunwoo, your uncle wants to discuss the soul contracts. He's by the bar. As she glided away, Hyunwoo let out a long breath. That went better than expected? Your mother is terrifying, Nalani said. Yes, but she didn't hate you. That's actually a victory. He guided her toward the bar. Come on, let's get you a drink before round 2. The next hour passed in a whirl of introductions. Business partners, family friends, distant relatives, all curious about Nalani, all asking careful questions about how she knew Hyunwoo. He handled each inquiry with practiced ease, presenting her as his advisor and nothing more. But Nalani could feel the speculation in every glance. They all think we're together, she murmured, during a brief moment of privacy by the windows. I know. Hyunwoo didn't sound bothered. Does it bother you? Should it? I don't know. Does the idea of people thinking you're dating your boss make you uncomfortable? Nalani considered this. Not uncomfortable exactly. Just aware. Like everyone's watching to see if I slip up. They're always watching, Hyunwoo said quietly. That's what it means to be part of this world. Everything is performance. Everything is judgment. It's exhausting. Then why stay in it? Because it's my family's legacy, my responsibility. He looked out at the city lights. My father built this company from nothing. I can't just walk away because it's hard. Even when it makes you unhappy. Hyun-woo turned to face her fully. Who says I'm unhappy? You do. Every time you talk about obligation and responsibility instead of passion and purpose. Nalani met his eyes. I may not have known you long, but I can tell when someone's carrying a weight they didn't choose. He was quiet for so long that Nalani thought she'd overstepped. Then he said softly, "You're very perceptive. It's one of my annoying qualities. It's not annoying. It's..." He paused. "It's nice, actually, having someone see past the masks I wear." Before Nalani could respond, a new voice interrupted them. Well, Hyun-woo. Didn't expect to see you here after your very public humiliation." They turned to find a man in his 30s, handsome in a calculated way, with a smirk that made Nalani's instincts scream danger. "James," Hyun-woo said, his entire body going rigid. "What are you doing here?" "Same as everyone else, supporting Korean-American cultural initiatives." James Chen's smile was poisonous. "And enjoying the entertainment. You and your new friend are the talk of the room. You need to leave. I'm a paying guest. I have every right to be here." James turned his attention to Nalani. "And you must be the hero of the hour, the brave catering girl who saved poor Hyun-woo from his evil fiancé. How's he repaying you? I hope generously." "That's enough." Hyun-woo stepped between them. "Walk away, James, now. Or what? You'll have me arrested again?" James laughed. "My lawyers got me out in 6 hours. No charges filed because you have no proof of anything beyond Min-hee's word against mine. And Min-hee, well, she's reconsidering her testimony." Nalani felt her heart sink. "She's protecting you." "She's protecting herself," James corrected, "and reconsidering her options. Maybe Hyun-woo's not the best catch after all. Maybe she realizes her mistake." "Tell Min-hee she can rot in hell," Hyun-woo said coldly, "and so can you. Such hostility, and here I came to offer you a deal." James pulled out a business card, holding it toward Hyun-woo. "My lawyers are willing to discuss a settlement. You drop the charges. We give back some of the documents we acquired. Everyone moves on with their lives." "You mean I let you get away with attempted poisoning and corporate espionage in exchange for papers you stole from me?" Hyun-woo didn't take the card. "Not interested. Think about it carefully. This could get very messy for everyone involved." James's smile turned ugly. "Including your new friend here. I wonder what immigration would think of her work visa application, if she even has one." Nalani's blood ran cold. "Are you threatening her?" Hyun-woo's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "I'm simply pointing out that everyone has vulnerabilities." James tucked the card back into his pocket. "Think about my offer, Hyun-woo, before this gets worse for all of you." He walked away, leaving a heavy silence behind him. "He's bluffing," Hyun-woo said immediately. "About your visa, about everything. Don't let him scare you." "How do you know he's bluffing?" "Because James is a coward who hides behind lawyers and threats. If he had real leverage, he'd have used it already." Hyun-woo's jaw was tight. "But we should probably verify your immigration status just to be safe. Grace can..." "My visa is fine," Nalani interrupted. "I have a work visa that's valid for 2 more years. But Hyun-woo, if he's willing to threaten me at a public event, what else is he willing to do?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." He took her arm gently. "Come on, we're leaving. Your mother said 2 hours minimum. My mother will understand when I explain James Chen showed up to threaten us." Hyun-woo was already guiding her toward the exit. "And if she doesn't, Then she'll just have to be disappointed. They'd almost made it to the door when Tae-young appeared, blocking their path. Leaving so soon, cousin? Not now, Tae-young. Actually, I think now is perfect. Tae-young's expression was ugly. You've been avoiding me all week, Hyun-woo. Afraid to face me after you ruined Min-hee's life? Min-hee ruined her own life, Hyun-woo shot back. And you helped her do it. Don't think I've forgotten about those file transfers you authorized. Those were legitimate business transactions. To her personal email? Try again. Hyun-woo stepped closer. I'm giving you one chance, Tae-young. Tell me everything you know about Min-hee and James's plan. Tell me who else is involved. Do that, and maybe I'll let you keep your job. Tae-young's face flushed. You're not my boss, cousin. We're equals in this family. Not anymore. The board voted me full authority last month, remember? Which means I can fire you if I determine you're a threat to the company. Hyun-woo's voice was ice. So I'll ask again, who else is involved? For a moment, Tae-young looked genuinely frightened. Then his expression hardened. You're making a mistake, Hyun-woo. A big one. That's what I thought. Hyun-woo turned to Nalani. Come on, we're done here. As they stepped out into the cool night air, Nalani felt like she could finally breathe again. That was a disaster. I know, I'm sorry. Hyun-woo ran a hand through his hair. I shouldn't have brought you. This is exactly the kind of drama I was trying to protect you from. I'm glad I came, Nalani said, surprising him. Because now I understand what we're up against. James isn't giving up. Tae-young is still loyal to Min-hee. And your mother? Well, your mother is complicated. That's one word for her. But she also respected me standing up to her. That's important. Nalani turned to face him. Hyun-woo, these people are trying to isolate you. Make you feel like you can't trust anyone. We can't let them win. We. Yes, we. She met his eyes firmly. I told you I was going to help you fix this. I meant it. Even when it gets messy. Hyun-woo stared at her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Something warm and unexpected. Why are you so determined to help me? Because you gave me a chance when you didn't have to. Nalani's voice softened. Because you trusted me when you had every reason not to. And because, honestly, I like you. You're stubborn and occasionally frustrating, but you're also kind and honest. Those are rare qualities. I like you too, Hyun-woo said quietly. More than I probably should for someone I've known less than 2 weeks. The words hung between them, loaded with implications neither seemed quite ready to address. We should probably figure out how to handle James's threat, Nalani said finally, breaking the moment. Monday. We'll deal with all of it Monday. Hyun-woo pulled out his phone to call the car. Tonight, let's just forget about it for a few hours. Are you hungry? Starving, actually. That gala had terrible food. I know a place. Nothing fancy, just good food, and no one trying to threaten us or ask invasive questions. He hesitated. If you're not too tired? Nalani smiled. I could eat. The place Hyun-woo took her to was a tiny Korean-Mexican fusion restaurant in a strip mall 20 minutes from downtown. The owner greeted Hyun-woo like an old friend, and they ended up in a corner booth with kimchi quesadillas and bulgogi tacos. This is amazing, Nalani said around a mouthful of food. How did you find this place? College. I used to come here to escape from campus when everything got too overwhelming. Hyun-woo looked more relaxed than she'd seen him all night. The owner's daughter and I had a class together. She told me about her parents' restaurant, and I've been coming ever since. Were you and the daughter friends? Just friends? He smiled. She's married now with 2 kids. Still makes fun of me for always ordering the same thing. They ate in comfortable silence for a while, the tension from the gala slowly dissolving. Nalani found herself studying Hyunwoo's face, the way he looked different away from the office and family obligations. Younger, somehow. More himself. "Can I ask you something?" she said eventually. "Sure. What did you actually want to do before you took over the family business?" Hyunwoo paused, a taco halfway to his mouth. "What makes you think I wanted to do something else?" "Because every time you talk about the company, you use words like obligation and responsibility, never passion." Nalani leaned forward. "So what was it? What did you dream about before reality got in the way?" He set down the taco, considering. "Architecture. I wanted to design buildings." "Really?" "Really. I loved the idea of creating spaces where people could live and work and exist. Places that made their lives better somehow." His voice grew wistful. "I even got accepted to a graduate program at MIT. Had plans to specialize in sustainable design." "What happened?" "My father had a heart attack my senior year of college. Suddenly I was needed at home, needed to learn the business, needed to be ready to take over." Hyunwoo shrugged. "Architecture became a hobby instead of a career." "Do you still design things?" "Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep. I sketch buildings that will never be built, dream up spaces that will never exist." He smiled sadly. "It's pointless." "But it's not pointless," Nalani interrupted. "It's keeping part of yourself alive. That matters." Hyunwoo looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You're the first person I've told about that in years." "Not even Minhee knew?" "Minhee thought hobbies were a waste of time. She wanted me focused on business growth and social connections. Nothing else mattered." He shook his head. "I should have seen that as a red flag." "Hindsight is cruel like that," Nalani said softly. "We always see the patterns more clearly after they've hurt us." They finished eating and drove back through quiet Denver streets. When they reached Nalani's apartment building, Hyunwoo walked her to the door, despite her protests. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said. "And for being you, I guess. It helped more than you know." "Thank you for trusting me enough to bring me." Nalani hesitated, then added, "And for telling me about the architecture thing. I'm honored you shared that. Maybe someday I'll show you some of my designs, if you're interested. I'd like that, a lot." They stood there for a moment, the space between them charged with something neither wanted to name yet. Then Hyunwoo stepped back. "Get some rest. Monday is going to be intense." "You too," Nalani said. "And Hyunwoo, we're going to figure this out. All of it." "I believe you," he said, and sounded like he meant it. As Nalani watched him drive away, she realized she'd crossed some invisible line tonight. This wasn't just a job anymore. Hyunwoo wasn't just her boss. They were becoming something. Something complicated and undefined and potentially dangerous. But maybe that was okay. Maybe sometimes the best things came from taking risks you never planned on taking. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister, Raviona. "How's Denver? Missing you here." Nalani smiled and typed back. "Denver is complicated, but I think I'm exactly where I need to be." And surprisingly, she meant it. Monday morning arrived with storm clouds, both literal and metaphorical. Nalani got to the office early to find Grace already setting up the 3 conference rooms for their planned confrontations. "Nervous?" Grace asked, handing her coffee. "Terrified," Nalani admitted. "What if we're wrong about some of them?" "Then we apologize and move forward. But Hyunwoo needs to know who he can trust, and that means asking hard questions." Grace checked her watch. "David Wong is first at 9. Sarah Mitchell at 9:30, Tae Yang at 10. Why that order? David is most likely to crack. If we get him to talk first, we can use what he says to pressure the others. Grace's expression was grim. I've been doing this a long time, Nalani. You learn to read people. Hyun-woo arrived at 8:45, looking like he hadn't slept much. Everything ready? Conference room A. I'll be monitoring from my office, Grace said. Nalani will be in the room with you taking notes. Why Nalani? Because she's observant and not emotionally connected to any of these people. She'll see things you might miss. Grace was already heading to her desk. Trust me on this. The meeting with David Wong started tense and got worse. The lawyer sat across from them, his expression carefully controlled, but Nalani could see the fear in his eyes. David, let's not waste time, Hyun-woo began. I know you helped Min-hee forge documents. What I need to know is why. I don't know what you're... We have the email trail, Nalani interrupted, sliding printouts across the table. You sent Min-hee template documents from our legal database 17 times over 6 months. Documents that match the forgeries found in James Chen's briefcase. David's face went white. So let's skip the denials, Hyun-woo said, his voice hard. Tell me why. Were you working with her willingly, or did she have something on you? A long silence. Then David's shoulders sagged. She found out about my gambling debts. Said she'd tell my wife and the bar association if I didn't help her. How much do you owe? 80,000, maybe more now with interest. David looked miserable. I know that's no excuse. I betrayed your trust, and I'll resign immediately. Not yet, Hyun-woo said, surprising both David and Nalani. First, you're going to tell me everything. Every person Min-hee worked with, every document you helped create, every conversation you overheard. You're going to help me undo the damage you helped cause. And then? Then we'll discuss your future. Maybe you keep your job with conditions. Maybe you don't. Hyun-woo leaned forward. But if you hold anything back, if you protect anyone else involved in this, I will make sure you never practice law again. Understood? David nodded quickly. Understood. Over the next hour, he told them everything. How Min-hee had approached him 9 months ago. How she'd gradually pulled him deeper into the scheme. And most importantly, who else she'd been working with. Sarah Mitchell in accounting was helping hide payments, David confirmed. But she didn't know the full plan. Min-hee kept her compartmentalized, only told her what she needed to know. And my cousin? David hesitated. Tae Yang knew everything. He was in on it from the beginning. Nalani felt sick. Why would he betray family? Because he thinks the company should be his, David said quietly. He's always resented that your father chose Hyun-woo to take over instead of him. Min-hee promised him a major position if their plan succeeded. Hyun-woo's expression was unreadable. What else? There's one more person, someone higher up than any of us. David swallowed hard. Someone Min-hee reported to. I don't know who it is. She always referred to them as the partner, but they were financing the whole operation. Someone with enough money and power to organize corporate espionage and forgery. Nalani was already thinking through possibilities. That's a short list. We'll figure it out, Hyun-woo said grimly. David, you're going to write down everything you just told us in an official statement. Then you're going to cooperate fully with our investigation. Do that, and maybe you keep your job. After David left, looking both relieved and terrified, Grace came in with Sarah Mitchell. Sarah was younger, maybe 25, and she started crying the moment she sat down. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I didn't know. I thought it was legitimate business expenses. Min-hee said everything was approved. Nalani handed her tissues while Hyunwoo asked careful questions. It became clear quickly that Sarah had been manipulated more than complicit. She'd processed payments, without questioning them, because Min-hee had authorization codes that appeared legitimate. Those codes were from Tae-yang's access, Nalani realized, checking her notes. He was the one actually approving the transfers. Sarah was just processing them. Is that true? Hyunwoo asked Sarah directly. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I swear I would never steal from the company. When I saw the news about the engagement party, about what Min-hee had done, I almost quit from shame. But you didn't. Because I need this job. I'm supporting my mom through cancer treatment, and we can't afford for me to be unemployed right now. Sarah's voice broke. Please don't fire me. I'll work extra hours, take a pay cut, whatever you need. Just please. You're not fired, Hyunwoo said, cutting off her panic. You made mistakes, but they came from trusting the wrong people, not malice. Write a full account of every transaction you handled for Min-hee, and we'll move forward. Sarah left still, crying but with relief now, instead of fear. 2 down, Grace said quietly. 1 to go. Tae-yang arrived at exactly 10 o'clock, his expression arrogant and defensive. He sat down like he owned the place, barely acknowledging Nalani's presence. Let's get this over with, he said. What accusations are you making now, cousin? How long have you been helping Min-hee steal from me? Hyunwoo asked bluntly. I haven't been stealing anything. Then explain the file transfers, the authorization codes you gave her, the meetings David Wong says you attended where Min-hee's plans were discussed. Nalani laid out each piece of evidence methodically. Because from where we're sitting, you were instrumental in every part of her scheme. Tae-yang's jaw tightened. Min-hee was your fiancée. She had legitimate reasons to access company information. For what? To forge ownership documents? To plan my drugging? Hyunwoo's voice was dangerously quiet. Stop lying, Tae-yang. It's insulting. You want the truth? Tae-yang leaned forward, his facade finally cracking. Fine. Yes, I helped Min-hee. And I'd do it again. Because this company should have been mine. My father worked just as hard as yours building it. But when it came time to choose a successor, your father picked you just because you're his son. Never mind that I have an MBA from Harvard. Never mind that I've dedicated my entire adult life to this business. You got it because of blood, not merit. So, you decided to take it by force? Nalani couldn't keep the disgust from her voice. I decided to align myself with someone who understood business realities. Tae-yang shot back. Min-hee was smarter than you give her credit for. Her plan would have worked if not for... He glared at Nalani. You. Lucky me, Nalani said coolly. Tae-yang. Hyunwoo's voice cut through the tension. You're fired, effective immediately. You have 1 hour to clear your office. And if you try to access any company files or systems, after that, I'll have you arrested for corporate espionage. You can't fire me. The board gave me full authority, remember, which means I absolutely can fire you. Hyunwoo stood. Security will escort you out. And Tae-yang, stay away from me and my company. If I find out you're involved in any further attempts to undermine us, I won't hesitate to press charges. Tae-yang stood slowly, his face red with fury. This isn't over, Hyunwoo. You think firing me fixes everything? There are forces at play you don't even know about. The partner. Who is the partner? Nalani demanded. But Tae-yang just smiled nastily. Figure it out yourself, if you can. Security arrived to escort him out, and the room fell into heavy silence. We have a bigger problem than I thought, Hyunwoo said finally. Someone with real power has been orchestrating this from behind Min-hee. Someone who's still out there, Nalani added. Someone who probably isn't happy that their plan failed. Grace returned, her face grave. I've been going through financial records like you asked. There's a series of payments, large ones, coming into Tae Yang's personal account from a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. Can we trace who owns the company? Working on it, but these things are designed to be untraceable. Grace pulled up documents on her tablet. However, I did find something interesting. The same shell company made a sizable donation to the Korean American Cultural Center, the organization hosting Saturday's gala. Nalani felt pieces clicking together. So the partner was at the gala. That's why James Chen felt comfortable threatening us there. He knew whoever's protecting him was in the room. Which means it's someone we know, Hyun-woo said grimly. Someone with connections to both the Korean American community and enough wealth to finance corporate espionage. Your mother's friends? Business associates? Nalani was already making mental lists. Who benefits most from you losing the company? Competitors, family members who feel slighted, business partners who want better terms? Hyun-woo ran a hand through his hair. The list is longer than you'd think. Then we narrow it down. Nalani pulled out her laptop. Grace, send me the guest list from Saturday. I'll cross-reference everyone who attended, with people who have connections to shell companies, large financial resources, and motivations to want Hyun-woo out of power. They spent the next 3 hours digging through records, making connections, and building a suspect list. By mid-afternoon, they'd narrowed it to 5 possible candidates. Richard Langford, Grace read from the list, shipping competitor who's been trying to acquire your Pacific routes for years. Possible, Hyun-woo said. But he's American. Why work through Min-hee and Korean connections? Plausible deniability? Nalani suggested. Keep himself at arm's length from the actual crime. Next is Chairman, CO, Grace continued. He serves on the Cultural Center Board and has been vocal about wanting younger leadership in Korean business circles. Define younger, Nalani said. He has a son about Hyun-woo's age who runs a tech startup. If Hyun-woo's company fell apart, CO's son could swoop in and acquire the pieces cheaply. Grace highlighted that connection. Strong motive. They worked through the remaining suspects, but nothing felt quite right. Either the motive was weak, or the means didn't align, or something else was off. We're missing something, Nalani said, frustrated. There's a piece we're not seeing. Hyun-woo's phone rang. He glanced at it and frowned. It's my mother. Answer it, Grace advised. She's called 4 times today. If you keep ignoring her, she'll show up at the office. Hyun-woo sighed and accepted the call, putting it on speaker. Hello, Mother. Hyun-woo, we need to talk about your behavior at the gala. Mrs. Kim's voice was sharp, leaving after barely an hour, causing a scene with Tae Yang. Mother, I was being threatened by James Chen. I had every right to leave. James Chen was there? A pause. I didn't see him. He found us by the windows, made threats about Nalani's visa status, and tried to pressure me into dropping charges. Hyun-woo's jaw was tight. Did you know he'd be attending? Of course not. His presence was highly inappropriate given the circumstances. Mrs. Kim sounded genuinely angry. Who invited him? That's what we're trying to figure out. Hyun-woo exchanged glances with Nalani. Mother, who organized the guest list for Saturday? The Cultural Center Committee, Chairman Seo, Mrs. Park, Thomas Wei, and, she trailed off, and Min-hee's father, Attorney Choi. The room went completely still. Attorney Choi is still on the committee? Hyun-woo's voice was dangerously quiet. After what his daughter did? The engagement had only just been called off. We hadn't had time to reorganize the committee. Mrs. Kim sounded defensive. Why? What are you thinking? I'm thinking Min-hee's father might be the partner we've been looking for. Hyun-woo was already pulling up information on his computer. He has the legal expertise to help with forgery, the financial resources to fund the operation, and the motive. If I lost the company, Min-hee would have gotten her hands on my assets through our marriage. That's a serious accusation, Mrs. Kim warned. It's also the only thing that makes sense. Nalani was checking records. Grace, can you pull up Attorney Choi's financial... Already on it, Grace interrupted, her fingers flying over her keyboard. And, oh no. What? Attorney Choi is part owner of 3 shell companies registered in the Cayman Islands. Grace's voice was grim, including the one that's been paying Tae-yang. Mother, Hyun-woo said urgently, I need you to do something for me. Call Attorney Choi and tell him you want to meet to discuss the engagement fallout. Make it sound like you're upset with me. Like you think maybe Min-hee deserves another chance. Why would I do that? Because we need to draw him out, get him to reveal his involvement. Hyun-woo looked at Nalani, who was nodding. If he thinks you're on his side, he might let something slip. This sounds dangerous, Hyun-woo. It is, but it's the best way to get the proof we need to stop him from trying again. Hyun-woo's voice softened. Please, Mother, I need your help. A long pause. Then Mrs. Kim sighed. Fine, but I want police nearby in case things go wrong. Agreed. Grace will coordinate everything. Hyun-woo was already making plans. Mother, thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this goes wrong, I'll never forgive myself. Mrs. Kim hung up. Grace looked up from her phone. I'm calling Detective Morrison. He's been handling the Min-hee case. If we're setting up a sting operation, we need law enforcement involved. As Grace made arrangements, Nalani moved closer to Hyun-woo. Are you sure about this? Using your mother as bait? No, but I don't have better options. He looked exhausted. Attorney Choi is smart. If we approach him directly, he'll deny everything and disappear behind lawyers. This way, we might get him to incriminate himself. What if he gets suspicious? Then we've lost nothing. We're already aware of his involvement. Hyun-woo met her eyes. But if this works, we end this. All of it. Detective Morrison arrived within an hour, a tired-looking man in his 50s who listened carefully as they explained the situation. This is thin, he said bluntly. Shell companies aren't illegal. You need concrete proof Choi was directing Min-hee's actions. That's what we're trying to get, Nalani explained. If he thinks Mrs. Kim is sympathetic, he might reveal something useful. Might isn't good enough for an arrest warrant. Morrison pulled out a recording device. But it's enough for a conversation. Mrs. Kim, you'll wear this wire when you meet with Choi. Try to get him talking about the engagement, about what his daughter was trying to accomplish. If he admits to knowledge of the drugging or forgery, we can move forward. Mrs. Kim arrived at the office looking composed, but nervous. Grace fitted her with the wire, while Detective Morrison tested the equipment. I'll be in an unmarked car outside the restaurant, Morrison explained. At the first sign of trouble, we move in. But Mrs. Kim, you need to stay calm. Don't push too hard for information. Let him talk. I understand. Mrs. Kim straightened her jacket. How do I look? Like a concerned mother, Nalani said honestly, which is perfect. The meeting was set for 6 o'clock at an upscale Korean restaurant downtown. Mrs. Kim left with Detective Morrison, and the rest of them waited in Hyun-woo's office, listening to the wire feed. This is torture, Hyun-woo muttered, pacing. Just sitting here while my mother walks into danger. She's not in danger, Grace soothed. Morrison's team is excellent, and they won't let anything happen to her. I should be there. If you're there, Choi will never talk, Nalani pointed out. Your mother has the best chance of getting him to open up. They heard Mrs. Kim arrive at the restaurant, heard her greet Attorney Choi with perfect politeness. Small talk about the weather, the gala, mutual friends. Then gradually the conversation shifted. "I'm still upset with Hyun-woo," Mrs. Kim said, her acting flawless. "The way he humiliated Min-hee at the engagement party." "My daughter is devastated," Choi replied. "She loves Hyun-woo. This whole misunderstanding has been blown completely out of proportion." Misunderstanding? Mrs. Kim's tone was carefully neutral. "The police found evidence of forgery. Evidence that could be explained in many ways. Min-hee had legitimate business reasons to access those documents. She was about to become Hyun-woo's wife, after all." Choi's voice was smooth, practiced. "I think if we could all sit down calmly, we could work this out." "What about the drugging allegation?" A pause. Then Choi laughed. "That catering girl who made such a fuss? Please. She probably saw an opportunity to get close to a wealthy man and made up a dramatic story. These people do that, you know." "These people?" Mrs. Kim's voice hardened slightly. "Foreign workers looking for green cards or money. They see successful Korean families and think we're easy targets." Choi was digging himself deeper. "I've already looked into her background. Nalani Rakoto, from Madagascar. Here on a work visa that's up for renewal soon. I'm sure a call to immigration could—" "You've been investigating her?" Mrs. Kim interrupted. "I'm protecting my interests," Choi said smoothly. "And yours, frankly. Has Hyun-woo told you he hired this woman? Gave her access to company files and financial information based on nothing but her word against Min-hee's?" "He did mention that." "Well, as a friend and advisor to your family, I feel obligated to warn you. This woman is dangerous. She's isolated Hyun-woo from Min-hee, from Tae-young, from anyone who might question her influence. Classic manipulation tactics. In the office, Hyun-woo's hands were clenched into fists. He's trying to turn my mother against you." "Let him talk," Nalani whispered. "He's revealing more than he realizes." Mrs. Kim's voice came through the wire again. "What do you suggest I do?" "Help me help Hyun-woo see reason. Min-hee made mistakes, yes, but she loves him. With the right pressure, they could still have a future together." Choi's voice dropped lower. "And between you and me, the business merger we'd planned would have been very beneficial for both families. It would be a shame to throw that away over a misunderstanding." "What merger?" "The one Min-hee and I had arranged with Hyun-woo's signature. It would have consolidated our shipping operations, made both companies stronger. All that's needed is for him to forgive Min-hee and sign the papers." "The forged papers?" A longer pause this time. Then Choi said carefully, "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do." Mrs. Kim's voice was steel now. "I think you've been orchestrating this entire scheme from the beginning, using your daughter to access my son's company, planning to drug him into compliance, forging documents to steal what he'd built." "That's a serious accusation, Mrs. Kim. It's also the truth. And I think you need to explain yourself before I call the police." "The police?" Choi laughed, but it sounded forced. "On what grounds? You have no proof of anything." "Don't I?" Mrs. Kim's voice was cold. "I know about the shell companies, the payments to Tae-young, the meetings with James Chen. You've been very careful, Attorney Choi, but not careful enough." A chair scraped. "I think this conversation is over. Sit down." Detective Morrison's voice suddenly cut in. "We have questions for you, Attorney Choi." The next few minutes were chaos on the wire. Choi protesting, Morrison reading him his rights, Mrs. Kim's voice shaking slightly as she confirmed she was okay. Then silence as the recording device was turned off. Hyun-woo was already heading for the door. I need to get to my mother. Wait. Nalani caught his arm. Let Morrison finish the arrest first. You don't want to interfere with police procedure. She just confronted the man who tried to destroy me. I'm not leaving her alone with him. She's not alone. She has an entire police team. Grace's phone buzzed. That's Morrison. He says to stay put. They're bringing Choi in for questioning, and your mother is fine. Shaken but fine. Hyun-woo sank into his chair, the adrenaline draining out of him. I can't believe she did that. Confronted him like that. Your mother is tougher than you give her credit for, Nalani said with a small smile. I think we both learned that tonight. An hour later, Mrs. Kim arrived at the office, still, wearing the wire under her jacket. Grace helped remove it, while Hyun-woo hovered anxiously. I'm fine, Mrs. Kim assured him. Stop fussing. You just helped catch a criminal. I think I'm allowed to fuss. Well, fuss from further away. You're crowding me. But Mrs. Kim's expression softened. He admitted everything, you know. Once Morrison started questioning him about the forgery, the drugging plan, even about paying Tae-yang to help, he's going to prison for a long time. Good. Hyun-woo's voice was hard. He deserves it. What about Min-hee? Nalani asked. She's being charged as an accomplice. Morrison says she's trying to make a deal, claiming her father pressured her into everything. Mrs. Kim shook her head. Whether that's true or not, she still made her choices. I don't care what happens to her, Hyun-woo said bluntly, as long as she stays away from me and my company. Mrs. Kim turned her attention to Nalani. I owe you an apology, Miss Rikoto. For what? For being suspicious of you. For not trusting my son's judgment. Mrs. Kim's voice was sincere. You've been nothing but helpful since you arrived, and I let my own prejudices cloud my thinking. I'm sorry. You were protecting your son, Nalani said simply. I understand that. Still, I was wrong. And Mrs. Kim hesitated. I want to thank you for being there for Hyun-woo when he needed someone, for helping him see the truth about Min-hee before it was too late. I just did what felt right, which is exactly what makes you valuable. Mrs. Kim actually smiled. I'm glad my son hired you, Miss Rikoto. I hope you'll stay with us for a long time. After Mrs. Kim left, Grace gathered her things. I'm going home before anything else dramatic happens today. You two should do the same. Good idea, Hyun-woo agreed. Nalani, I'll give you a ride home. They rode down in the elevator in silence, both processing everything that had happened. Outside, the Denver evening was cool and clear, stars just becoming visible. Are you okay? Nalani asked as they walked to his car. I don't know, Hyun-woo admitted. I should feel relieved, right? We caught the person behind everything. Attorney Choi is going to prison. The threat is over. But it doesn't feel over. It feels like I just discovered my entire life for the past 3 years was built on lies. He unlocked the car. Min-hee never loved me. Her father was using me. My own cousin betrayed me. How do I trust anyone after that? You start small, Nalani said, climbing into the passenger seat. You trust the people who've proven themselves. Grace, who's been loyal to you forever. Your mother, who just risked herself to protect you. And maybe, she hesitated, maybe me? Hyun-woo looked at her, really looked at her, for a long moment. I do trust you. More than I probably should after everything. Why shouldn't you? Because in 2 weeks you've become important. And that scares me. His voice was honest, vulnerable. You've seen me at my worst, helped me through this nightmare, and somehow made me feel like maybe I'm not completely broken. That's a lot of power to give someone. I don't want power over you, Nalani said softly. I just want to help you rebuild. both your company and yourself. Why, though? What do you get out of this besides a paycheck? She considered how to answer. Remember when I told you about Andre? About how he destroyed my family's business and left us with nothing? I remember. After that I felt worthless, like I'd failed everyone I loved. Coming here, getting a fresh start, it was supposed to help me move past that. Nalani turned to face him. But helping you? Actually making a difference in someone's life? That's healing something in me I didn't even know was broken. Hyun-woo reached over and took her hand, his touch gentle. You're not worthless, Nalani. You're extraordinary. So are you, she whispered, even if you can't see it yet. They sat, like that for a moment, hands intertwined, something shifting between them that neither was quite ready to name. Then Hyun-woo started the car. Let's get you home. You've had enough drama for one day. As they drove through Denver's streets, Nalani felt something settle in her chest. This thing between them, whatever it was becoming, felt right. Complicated and maybe a little scary, but right. And for the first time since arriving in America, she felt like she'd found where she belonged. 3 weeks after Attorney Choi's arrest, Hyun-woo stood in his office, staring at architectural sketches scattered across his desk. Not business documents or shipping manifests, actual building designs he'd worked on late into the night. Those are beautiful, Nalani said from the doorway. She'd gotten comfortable enough now to enter without knocking, and he'd stopped minding. They're just ideas, he said, but his voice held something new. Hope, maybe. They're more than that. She moved, closer, studying the drawings. Is this the sustainable housing project you mentioned? How did you know? Because I listen when you talk. Nalani pointed to specific features. Solar panels integrated into the roof design, water collection systems, natural ventilation. These aren't just buildings, Hyun-woo. They're solutions. He felt warmth spread through his chest. I've been thinking. Dangerous, she teased. Seriously, I've been thinking about why I wanted to save the company so badly. And I realized it wasn't about the business itself. It was about not failing my father's memory. Hyun-woo gathered the sketches carefully. But maybe the best way to honor him isn't to just maintain what he built. Maybe it's to grow beyond it. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to start a new division. Sustainable architecture and design. Use the company's resources and connections to actually build some of these ideas. His voice grew excited. We have shipping connections throughout Asia. We could source materials, work with contractors, create something that matters. Nalani's smile was radiant. I think that's brilliant. You do? I do. And I think your father would be proud that you're not just preserving his legacy, but evolving it into something even better. She touched his arm lightly. When do we start? We? You think I'm letting you do this alone? I have opinions about sustainable design, you know. Madagascar has amazing traditional building techniques that work with the environment instead of against it. We should incorporate some of those ideas. Hyun-woo found himself grinning. You want to be my architecture partner now? I want to help you build something meaningful. That's what partners do, right? The word partners hung between them, loaded with meanings beyond business. Hyun-woo set down the sketches and turned to face her fully. Nalani, we need to talk about what's happening between us. She'd been expecting this conversation, had been feeling the same pull for weeks now. Okay. I know it's only been a month. I know you're technically my employee, and this complicates everything. Hyun-woo took a breath. But I can't stop thinking about you. Can't stop wanting to share everything with you. And I need to know. Do you feel it too? Yes, Nalani said simply. I feel it. I've been feeling it since that first lunch at Mrs. Song's restaurant, when you told me about your architecture dreams. Maybe even before that. Then what do we do about it? I don't know. Be honest, I guess. Keep figuring it out together. She stepped closer. I know it's complicated. I know people will talk. But Hyunwoo, I think you're worth complicated. He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You're sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back to just working together. I'm sure. Her heart was hammering. Are you? Instead of answering with words, Hyunwoo leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. It was tender, respectful, and somehow more intimate than anything else could have been. I'm sure. They stood like that for a long moment, foreheads touching, just breathing together. Then Grace's voice crackled over the intercom. Hyunwoo, your mother's online too. She says it's urgent. They pulled apart, both slightly flushed. Hyunwoo sighed. The universe has terrible timing. Answer it, Nalani said with a laugh. I'll go check on the vendor contracts we discussed. As she left, Hyunwoo picked up the phone. Mother, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I'm calling with good news. Mrs. Kim sounded pleased. The Seoul investors want to schedule a meeting. They're impressed by how you handled the crisis and want to expand their partnership. That is good news. There's more. They specifically requested that Nalani attend. Said her insights during that first meeting showed real business acumen. Mrs. Kim paused. She's good for you, you know. Hyunwoo was surprised. What? Nalani, she's good for you. I've been watching how you interact, how you've changed since she arrived. You're happier, more yourself. His mother's voice softened. I know I was suspicious at first, but I was wrong. She sees you for who you are, not what you represent. That's rare. Mother, are you giving me permission to date my employee? I'm giving you permission to be happy, Hyunwoo, however that looks. Mrs. Kim laughed. Just don't make things complicated at work. Grace will never forgive you if she has to deal with HR issues. After hanging up, Hyunwoo found himself smiling. Maybe things really were starting to work out. Over the next few months, Hyunwoo and Nalani settled into a rhythm that was part professional, part personal, and entirely their own. They had dinner together most evenings, sometimes at fancy restaurants, more often at Mrs. Song's place or the Korean-Mexican fusion spot. They worked late on the architecture division plans, and slowly, carefully, they built something real between them. Tell me about your sister, Hyunwoo said one evening, as they sat in his apartment reviewing building codes. You talk about her a lot, but I've never heard the full story. Nalani set down her laptop. Raviona is... She's my hero, honestly. When everything fell apart with Andri, when our father got sick, she could have given up. Instead, she took over the vanilla business at 23 years old with no experience, just determination and love for our family. She sounds incredible. She is. She's also stubborn and bossy, and convinced she knows what's best for everyone. Nalani smiled fondly. We talk every week. She keeps asking when I'm coming home. What do you tell her? That I'm not sure yet. Nalani met his eyes. I came here to earn money, to help rebuild the business. I've been sending money back every month and things are improving. But I've also built a life here. I have work I care about, people I... She trailed off, suddenly shy. I'm not ready to leave. Hyunwoo reached for her hand. I don't want you to leave. I know. But eventually I'll have to choose. My family needs me in Madagascar, but I want to stay here. With you. What if you didn't have to choose? Hyunwoo had been thinking about this for weeks. What if we could help your family's business from here? Use our shipping connections to get their vanilla to new markets. Create a real partnership that lets you support them without leaving. Nalani stared at him. You'd do that? I'd do a lot for you, Nalani, including helping your family rebuild what they lost. He squeezed her hand. We could fly to Madagascar next month, meet Raviona, see the plantation, figure out how we can help, make it official. Hyunwoo, that's... She felt tears prick her eyes. That's everything. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't figured out the logistics. But he was smiling. Besides, I'd love to see where you grew up, understand that part of you better. They started planning the trip immediately. Grace handled the travel arrangements while Nalani coordinated with Raviona. Her sister's excitement was palpable even over the phone. You're bringing your boss? Raviona teased. The handsome Korean man you won't stop talking about? I talk about the business, Nalani protested. Sure. And that's why you spent 20 minutes last call describing his smile. Raviona laughed. I can't wait to meet him. Father's excited too. He wants to thank the man who gave his daughter a chance. The trip to Madagascar was everything Hyunwoo had imagined and more. The island was stunning. Lush forests, unique wildlife, and the vanilla orchards that stretched across Nalani's family land, like fragrant rows of possibility. Raviona greeted them at the airport, and the family resemblance was immediate. She had Nalani's eyes and that same determined chin. So you're the man who stole my sister, Raviona said, hugging Hyunwoo like they were old friends. I prefer to think she chose to stay, Hyunwoo replied. Diplomatic. I like that. Raviona grabbed Nalani's bag. Come on, Father's waiting at the house. He's been cooking all day. The house was modest, but welcoming, filled with the smells of traditional Malagasy food. Nalani's father was older than Hyunwoo expected, his strokes' effects visible in his slower movements, but his mind was sharp and his welcome genuine. Thank you for taking care of my daughter, he said in accented English, shaking Hyunwoo's hand. She writes that you've been very kind to her. She's been kind to me, Hyunwoo corrected. She saved my life, actually. I'm the one who should be grateful. Over dinner, they discussed business. The vanilla orchards were recovering, but slowly. Raviona had rebuilt some buyer relationships, but they needed capital for expansion and modern equipment. What if we created a formal partnership? Hyunwoo proposed. My company handles international shipping and marketing. You handle production and quality control. We split profits fairly and invest in growing the operation together. Nalani's father and sister exchanged glances. That's very generous, Raviona said carefully, but we can't accept charity. It's not charity, it's business. Hyunwoo pulled out the proposal he and Nalani had drafted. Malagasy vanilla is some of the best in the world. There's real market demand, especially in high-end restaurants and specialty stores. We just need to connect you with the right buyers. And you think you can do that? I know I can. I've already contacted several interested parties who'd pay premium prices for quality vanilla beans directly from the source. Hyunwoo met their eyes. This helps both of us. You get reliable income and room to grow. I get access to a premium product my shipping clients are already asking for. Everyone wins. They spent the next 3 days touring the plantation, meeting workers, and finalizing partnership details. Hyunwoo was impressed by the operation's potential and by Raviona's fierce competence. You remind me of Nalani, he told her on their last evening, watching the sunset over the vanilla orchids. We're sisters. Of course we're similar. But Raviona smiled. Though I think Nalani's tougher than me. What she did, leaving home, starting over in a foreign country, building a whole new life, that takes real courage. She's remarkable, Hyunwoo agreed. She's also in love with you, you know, even if she hasn't said it yet. Ravaona glanced at him. Are you in love with her? Yes, he said without hesitation. I am. Good, because if you hurt her, I'll find a way to make vanilla orchid thorns appear in your bed every night for the rest of your life. Hyunwoo laughed. Noted. But I have no intention of hurting her. Intentions are easy. It's actions that matter. But Ravaona's expression was approving. Take care of my sister, Hyunwoo. She's been through enough already. I will, I promise. On their last night in Madagascar, Nalani and Hyunwoo walked through the vanilla orchards under a blanket of stars, unlike anything visible in Denver. Thank you for coming here, Nalani said, her hand in his, for caring about my family and what they've built. Thank you for sharing this part of yourself with me. Hyunwoo stopped walking, turning to face her. Nalani, I need to tell you something. Okay. These past few months with you have been the happiest of my life, not despite the chaos and drama, but maybe because of it. You've helped me see who I really am and who I want to become. He took both her hands. I love you. I'm in love with you, and I needed to say it here, in the place that made you, so you'd know how much I mean it. Nalani felt tears spill over. I love you too. I've been afraid to say it because everything happened so fast. But Hyunwoo, I love you. Everything about you. He kissed her forehead gently, then each cheek, then finally pressed his lips softly to hers. It was sweet and tender and perfect. Come back to Denver with me, he whispered, not as my employee or my advisor, as my partner in everything. Build this life with me. Yes, she said, laughing through happy tears. Yes to all of it. They flew back to Denver the next day with signed partnership papers, a renewed sense of purpose, and a future that felt limitless. Grace was waiting at the office with news. The architecture division proposal was approved by the board. They're giving you seed funding to start on your first project. Seriously? Hyunwoo couldn't believe it. Seriously. Apparently your mother gave a very persuasive speech about innovation and family legacy. Grace smiled. Oh, and Detective Morrison called. Attorney Choi was sentenced to 8 years. Min Hee got 3 years plus restitution. It's really over. The relief was overwhelming. Hyunwoo pulled Nalani into a hug, and she held him tight. We did it, she murmured. We actually survived all of this. We did more than survive, Hyunwoo corrected. We built something better than what was broken. Over the next year, they proved it. The architecture division grew, completing its first sustainable housing project in a Denver suburb. The vanilla partnership with Nalani's family thrived, creating jobs in Madagascar and premium product for luxury markets. And Hyunwoo and Nalani themselves. Are you sure about this? Nalani asked, staring at the box Hyunwoo had just opened. Inside was a simple gold ring with a small diamond, elegant and perfect. I'm absolutely sure, Hyunwoo said, getting down on one knee right there in his office where this had all started. Nalani Rakoto, you saved my life, rebuilt my company, showed me how to dream again, and made me believe in love that's real, instead of transactional. Will you marry me? She was crying again, happy tears. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring on her finger and stood to kiss her properly, the kind of kiss that promised forever. Grace knocked on the door, then entered without waiting. I heard squealing. Should I order celebratory champagne? No champagne, Hyunwoo said, still holding Nalani. But maybe call Mrs. Song. Tell her we'll need her restaurant for an engagement dinner. Already on it, Grace said with a knowing smile. And congratulations, you two. You deserve every bit of happiness. The engagement dinner at Mrs. Song's restaurant was intimate. Just close family and friends. Mrs. Kim gave a toast that made everyone cry, including herself. A year ago, my son was about to make the biggest mistake of his life, she said, raising her glass. Instead, a brave young woman from Madagascar stepped in and changed everything. Nalani, you gave my son back his dreams and his hope. You gave our family honesty when we needed it most. And now, you're becoming part of that family, officially. Welcome home. Nalani squeezed Hyun-woo's hand under the table, overwhelmed by the acceptance. Raviona had flown in for the celebration, and she pulled Nalani aside during dessert. Father wanted me to give you this. It was a small package wrapped in vanilla leaves. Inside was their grandmother's wedding bracelet, delicate silver with traditional Malagasy designs. Father says grandmother would want you to wear it, Raviona explained, to remember where you come from even as you build your future here. Tell him I'll treasure it always, Nalani whispered, sliding the bracelet onto her wrist. The wedding was 6 months later, a fusion of Korean and Malagasy traditions held at the Pinnacle Gallery, the same place where the disastrous engagement party had happened over a year ago. But this time, everything was different. Nalani wore a dress that incorporated traditional Malagasy lamba silk with modern Korean design elements. Hyun-woo wore a traditional hanbok for the ceremony, then changed into a Western suit for the reception. I can't believe we're back here, Hyun-woo said, as they stood together before the ceremony, looking out at the city. Everything comes full circle, Nalani replied, but this time we're choosing this, not having it forced on us or stolen from us. We're choosing each other. The ceremony was beautiful. They exchanged vows in front of family and friends who actually cared about them. Grace cried, Mrs. Kim cried, even Detective Morrison attended and teared up during the toasts. To new beginnings, Hyun-woo said, raising his glass to his bride, and to the stranger who stopped me from making the biggest mistake of my life. To second chances, Nalani added, and to building something real together. They danced their first dance to a song that mixed Korean and African instruments, a perfect blend of their two worlds. And when Hyun-woo kissed his wife, his actual wife, not someone using him, the entire room erupted in applause. Later that night, after the guests had gone home, and they were alone in their new apartment overlooking downtown Denver, Nalani found Hyun-woo on the balcony. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "About how a year ago, I thought my life was falling apart. Turns out, it was actually falling into place." He turned to face her. "I thought losing Minhee was the end of everything, but it was just making room for you. We're going to have a good life," Nalani promised. "Not perfect, probably complicated sometimes, but good, real. The best kind," Hyun-woo agreed, kissing her forehead gently. They stood together under the Denver stars, two people from completely different worlds who'd found each other in the midst of chaos and built something beautiful from the wreckage. And as the city lights twinkled below them, like promises of tomorrow, they both knew. This was just the beginning. Hope you enjoyed this wild journey from that engagement party disaster to something truly beautiful. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment telling me which moment got you the most. Was it Nalani's bravery, Hyun-woo's transformation, or maybe that sweet proposal? And hey, share this with someone who loves a good romance, with real stakes, and even realer emotions. See you in the next story.